You're listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life, hosted by TravCon. Welcome to the Exhibitor Minute. I'm your host, Michelle Freitag. On our last episode of the Exhibitor Minute, we talked about vaccine assignments. And shortly after we recorded that session, I volunteered at the local vaccine center near San Francisco and found a whole host of travelers that had just been hired for their vaccine assignment. It was really cool to see that happen. On this episode, we'll be giving you an update on the current state of travel healthcare. And later, we'll be talking about the first steps that travelers should take when entering into the field, so stay tuned for that. Our guest today is the Outreach Manager at Fusion Medical Staffing. Her role is a unique hybrid between sales and marketing, and she's traveled the country for attending conferences for healthcare travelers. Thanks for joining us, Maddie Landstrom.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What state are you coming in from?
We are right smack in the middle in Omaha, Nebraska.
Very cool. Maddie, we've just had an incredibly crazy year where many travelers have been busier than ever. Summarize for us what happened in the staffing industry this past year.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a lot, to say the least. This time last year, it was all hands on deck trying to help our travelers through cancellations and a really slimmed out job market with the censuses being so drastically different all across the country. So this past year has been one for the books for medical staffing and for Fusion. And we're happy that things have finally turned around and are way more positive this time.
So give us a sense of what the staffing market looks like now. And just for the reference of everyone, we are recording this on April 5th, 2021.
So over the last, I would say 4 months or so, we have seen things completely turn around since the height of COVID, the COVID crisis this last year. So we are back and there's a lot of opportunities all over the country. There are way more steady positions and more opportunities to where you can have a very organized career in travel in general, because there are so many options now with a lot of states opening back up.
When you say a lot of options, do you mean beyond the hospital or within the hospitals?
So especially with elective surgeries, that's sometimes when a lot of our travelers will go help. So with elective surgeries back up and running, that provides a lot of opportunities for all of our divisions, since we do have 8 different divisions here at Fusion. So we get a lot more opportunities for that. And then we're also seeing some people in the country a little more comfortable with traveling, and with census spikes in certain areas, we see more opportunities there when people are venturing outside of their home where they weren't this last summer.
For sure. So you're saying that OR, pre-op, PACU, they're all picking up now because those procedures are opening up?
Yes. So whereas we were seeing things like that, just not at all non-existent, we're having more opportunities. For nursing specifically, ICU is still very prominent and one of the bigger opportunities that we have, but across all specialties, we're definitely seeing a spike and we're seeing things get back to pre-COVID times, if not better.
Excellent. So that was my next question is ICU ER was just supreme in demand for the past year. How are the other specialties like WIC and NICU? How are those other specialties looking now?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing opportunities across all specialties. Again, with ICU and PCU being the biggest of them all, just with COVID still being prominent in a lot of areas. But every other option, as long as you're open and you can listen to your recruiter and see where those opportunities are, you'll be able to get just about any specialty within the travel world.
Perfect. And in terms of, can you speak a little bit about contract rates in terms of they went pretty crazy there for a while. I've heard they're backing off a bit. Can you speak to the contract rates a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, in a crisis state, there's definitely some benefits to travel because those pay packages do rise very quickly. And you can see some pretty outstanding pay packages. With that, though, comes a ton of competition. So it's hard to get your foot in the door with those crisis rates. So we are seeing our pay packages mellow out to pre-COVID and a little bit more normal and reasonable amounts, but we still see them just a little bit higher than where we were prior to COVID. But again, those crisis rates, there are still some out there. They're just going to be very competitive.
I bet they would be, because now there's so fewer of the crisis rates
Yeah.
that there will be a lot of competition for that. Are there certain states that you see as opening up a little quicker or demand growing a little quicker than other states?
Sure. I mean, it really depends on what division you're thinking about. So with nursing, we see a lot kind of all over the place, Midwest, East Coast, West Coast, pretty much everywhere. Our lab division is doing really well, and they're seeing a lot on the East and West Coast as well as the Midwest. Our long-term care division, one of our newer divisions, who have been doing so well, even over COVID, they've been very, very successful. If you're thinking of getting into a travel career in a long-term care specialty, they're Midwest, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, the Rockies, they're pretty consistent with their needs too. So it sounds a little repetitive that we do staff all 50 states, but depending on the time of year, there could be an opportunity exactly where you're wanting to go.
Well, I remember you mentioning earlier that you have 8 divisions. That's a lot.
Yes. Yeah, I think I got 8. So we have nursing, long-term care, cath lab, cardiopulmonary, radiology, therapy, home health, maybe 7.
And there's an 8th one. Yeah.
And there's an 8th one in there too. So I apologize if I forgot one, but yes, our most recent is home health, our home health division, and they actually started during COVID. So they were faced with a lot of adversity, just starting a brand new division, but they are taking off, and there are a ton of opportunities. If you're in home health RNs, things like that, they have a really good thing going. So that's our newest one, and it's doing very well. But again, the market is getting back to normal pre-COVID, if not better, among all of our divisions right now.
That's really interesting. I didn't think of long-term care facilities being a travel specialty. That's actually where I started. It wasn't intentional. I literally put my resume out there for everyone. There was a hiring freeze in hospitals. So I ended up in a long-term care facility, 2 of them actually. And it was nothing like I expected. Nobody wears an armband. They all have coiffed pictures of when they first came in. Some of them predated my birthday. But they were just fascinating because they were just regular people. This was their home. They weren't sick. This was how they lived. And I ended up loving it. I didn't stay longer than a year, but I really enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, no, the long-term care, I mean, if you're a CNA and LPN, there are tons of opportunities around the country for you to jump in.
Can you talk a little bit about the therapy side of things? There's SLP, OT, RT, RRT, all of that.
Yeah, so physical therapists, occupational therapists, SLPs, and then our assistants, you can travel with us. They were hit pretty hard as well with COVID, especially with elective surgeries and just people really wanting to stay home and not take that leap into whatever therapy they were doing before. But they are definitely getting back up, and therapy is an awesome option, especially if you're young and you're new, because they can take new grads in their division. So opportunities again all over the country, and they've definitely seen some increases over the last 4 months or so with the needs.
Okay. Now, travel nursing, actually travel therapy, travel nursing, all of it, the healthcare travel field pre-COVID was, if you were to put that at the score of 100 just before COVID hit, how would it compare now as to the number of job orders as to what it was pre-COVID?
I would say we're back to 100, if not a little bit more, depending on the division.
Fantastic.
So everyone's a little bit different. Yeah, it's, I mean, we were there to support our travelers during the last 12 months and did our very best to get them in a very safe place, whether they extended at their current position or maybe they took some time off. And we're very happy that things are picking back up, that the opportunities are out there for travelers across all divisions. And it's just a matter of your comfort level and how far you want to travel, because we do have some people who stay fairly locally, maybe in their home state, and they just move around. But we definitely have seen things open up and the market be back in our favor for the later half of this year.
That's sure. Excellent. That's really good to hear. So I'd like to switch topics now. Tell us a little bit about the first few steps you'd recommend a new traveler to take.
Absolutely. I mean, we had a lot of people who were thinking about starting their travel career last year, and now they've put their plans on hold. And I think the first step is just doing some research. There are, hundreds of staffing companies out there. So do some research online, check out their websites, look at their marketing, all of that. For Fusion specifically, our website is very detailed. We've put a lot of work into having full transparency on our website, whether that be the positions we're listing, the pay packages, just who Fusion is as a company in our culture. So I think doing your research, checking things out online. With us, there is a lot of no pressure conversation in the beginning. So if you're just wanting to get some information and then leave it at that, that is perfectly fine. Our recruiters understand that this is a big leap, especially nowadays with dropping everything and moving somewhere else. So even if you're just wanting some information to get more details on your specific specialty or the market you're looking into, it's always good just to reach out to start that conversation. If you're wanting 3 months from now, 6 months from now, we put all of that information in. So then we know to reach out to you when you're a little bit closer. But I think the first step is just to give us a call or fill out one of our quick applications, again, for a no pressure conversation.
Sounds good. We also recommend it's so unusual to go from a staff job where you work with your coworkers and you've met your boss and you see them almost every day, to working for a company that you may never actually meet in person. You may never meet your recruiter in person. And that's how TravCon came about, is the ability to meet your recruiter, be it that you don't have a recruiter and you're looking for one, or you've had one for a year or two, but you've never met, which was my situation. I didn't meet my recruiter. I met her once in 7 years.
Yeah.
And that ability to have that personal face-to-face is really nice. So you'll be at TravCon this year. They know to find you at your Fusion booth. And that's a perfect way that you've had some conversations on the phone, and now you have the chance to put a face to a name with that call that you made. That's kind of perfect.
Absolutely. I mean, part of my job is to go to these big conventions, meet travelers in person, talk about Fusion, really try to deliver our culture in person, because that is when you can truly get to know someone. But I love that TravCon is that perfect hybrid to mix your recruiter and your travelers together. And it's such a fun atmosphere too, that you can really hit it off with whatever company you're working with. So we're super excited to come to TravCon. We were ready to go last year. Obviously that didn't work out. So you can imagine our excitement is tenfold to get out there. But any kind of in-person meeting with whatever recruiter you're working with really seals the deal with your commitment and just your loyalty sometimes, because you have great conversation over the phone, maybe your Facebook friends, or you follow each other on social media. But if you can meet, do lunch, do breakfast, grab coffee, you just are that much more connected. And then you feel, and you are a part of the Fusion family, internally and externally. So
Exactly.
It's always good to meet in person. And we get quite a few travelers that, because we're centrally located in Nebraska, if they're making a long trip across the country, a road trip, we have so many people stop in the office to meet their recruiters, and it's super fun to see.
That would be fantastic. You should put a compilation of videos together for that.
Right? I would say every other month, we probably have some kind of RV parked in our parking lot for someone who's like made their halfway point Omaha, so they could meet and chat with their recruiter and kind of see what the office is like and check out Omaha. So we're hoping to get back to that soon.
Now, you're a platinum sponsor this year at TravCon, which we super appreciate. But that means that you're also the sponsor for Newbie Boot Camp, which is specifically for new travelers. And this year we are adding a lunch feature. So lunch is included. It was just too pressured in time to run and get lunch and come back. So lunch is included. And the platinum sponsor recruiters sit down as an expert lunch and learn during the lunch and answer any questions for new travelers. Hey, they talked about this morning. What does it mean to do that? Or it's a perfect time. Sit down. Your lunch is included. Chit chat find your Fusion recruiters, find any, they're all really good. There's only 6 platinums that you can get together, and they're all super experienced recruiters that can answer your questions really easily. So you get to do that the day before the conference on Sunday. Yep. Then you go back and you do afternoon classes. And then you follow up with a super fun reception where you'll also see Fusion at, and that's the Newbie Boot Camp reception afterwards. So you get a couple of chances, both pre-conference and then during conference, to see them. So that's really cool.
Yes, we're very excited. And I sometimes feel like those lunches and the receptions are a little more laid back of an atmosphere and not walking up to a booth. So you can have probably a longer conversation than you would if you're hustling between all of the giveaways. So we're very excited to meet anyone who's new to travel or thinking about travel at the luncheon and the reception. So definitely come find us.
You're right. They are quite relaxed. I wanted also to circle back to a really cool partnership that we did last year called Meals for Meds.
Yes.
And Fusion came up with this brilliant idea of, hey, we want to help feed the healthcare workers that are working in the hospitals, be they on whatever unit you're on. If you're helping and working with COVID people, we're going to help feed you. And you sent an incredible amount of meals. Do you remember the final total?
Oh my gosh, shoot, I should have looked that up, but I knew that we had set a goal and we far exceeded it. And we just saw such good feedback from the hospitals and staff that we helped. So it was such a good effort, a good pairing between the two of us to really get out there and get the word out to help anyone in need. And we loved doing that. That was a really great partnership that we had.
It was such a feel-good give back to be able to do that. And with our nonprofit status, it really kind of worked that we could help work with you to get the meals to the travelers. They were super excited. They'd send back videos and pictures of the food that they got. So thank you for really stepping up and doing that. That was awesome.
Of course. Yeah, the least we could do. And it was just about really helping our travelers and any travelers, any staff around the country, and making sure that they were well fed since they were the hardest hit during COVID.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any parting message that you'd like to share with us before we finish up here?
So we're tenfold excited to be in person in TravCon later this fall. Fusion will have a pretty nice booth set up. We're working on all the final details right now, and we'll have a good group of our recruiters and our marketers at the event to talk to anyone and everyone, our travelers, other travelers. Again, the market is definitely back to normal pre-COVID times. We're seeing so much success within the travel world. So if you had put your plans on hold over the last 12 months and you're thinking about asking some questions, I feel like now is a great time to reach out, get some summer plans ready to go so you can hit the road and start your adventure with Fusion.
That's a great idea. Can you also talk a little bit about your new launch within Fusion, which is called Fusion Marketplace? What is that about?
Sure. Yeah. So Fusion Marketplace is something that we have been putting into place over the last couple of years. And it is an overall marketplace for travelers to have complete transparency, take hold of their careers, and kind of shop around between different agencies. So we have one official agency with us on Fusion Marketplace. You can go in, you can shop for jobs, you can create your profile, everything is at your fingertips. And it is we think it's going to be a really great asset to the travel world because it puts the travelers first, and it'll be a traveler-driven market. So it's up and running, fusionmarketplace.com. Definitely check it out. It's new, but it is definitely needed within the staffing world to have that transparency and give the travelers a lot more ownership of their career since they're in the driver's seat there.
That's great. We'll also put the website in the show notes if you want to go and check them out. That is fantastic. They will also Fusion Marketplace will also be having a showing at TravCon this year, which is great. Thank you so much, Maddie.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. This was great.
You have a great day, and we will see you at TravCon in September.
Can't wait.
Thanks for listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life. You can find the full show notes below or at travcon.org. Please help us out by rating our podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.